Hi, this is Liz and welcome to my podcast Spiritually Speaking with Liz. Today we've got another sofa session and I'm joined by the fabulous Jules Cooper. Jules is here. Jules has always intrigued me and we've met a lot through the Acorn retreat, that's at Brimham Rocks in Harrogate, but we've never really had personal conversations, have we?
No, that's true.
So I know some of your story and I know about your connection with Peru, which is what I want to talk about today. So I just thought, I don't know the story, it's great, I can ask her with you guys and we can see where it takes us. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Liz. It's great to be here with you.
It's lovely to have you. I'm really excited about this. First of all, shamanism. For those people that don't know, what is shamanism? What is a shaman?
A shaman is someone who would be the leader of a community, maybe in different countries, and they would have been the medicine men in these villages and tribes as well. So they would have done a lot of healing with people. And yeah, there's such a massive, there's a really wide range and lots of different ways of shamanizing as well.
Okay.
That's a good word,
Yeah,
isn't
it is a really good word. Is it a real one?
It is a real one. It is a real one. Yeah, it is. I read it in a book.
Oh, well, it must be then. So how did you get on this journey? Where did it start? So in the previous podcast where you spoke to us about the sound therapy, you told us about the traumatic events that you had in losing your son.
Yeah.
And how you turned to yoga and then how the sound therapy came from that as well. So yeah. Where does the shamanism, does it fit with that? Is it part of that journey?
It is part of that journey. I think primarily it was shamanism really opened me up to me.
Okay.
So it was a very deep journey, and I've worked with a couple of shaman, both very different, and every time in fact they were very different when I think about it. One was male, one was female.
Okay.
And the female did quite a lot of psychological work. So yeah, both of them had a massive impact on me in different ways. But yeah, I found it almost, I felt like I was reconnecting with shamanism.
Okay.
That I'd already been there and done that on some level. And I'm still really not sure on what level, but I know that in past lives I have definitely worked with magic in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole other story there.
That's a whole other story.
So when did you first come across the word or the word shaman, shamanism? How did they appear to you?
Going back to 2016, I organised a charity trek in the name of my son to raise money for different local charities in Middlesbrough, which is where I'm from.
Okay.
So I organised a trek to Machu Picchu in Peru. And so there was the 6 of us signed up to that. And before I went, 2 people said to me, "Oh, you're going to Peru? Oh, you're going to love it. It's amazing. But you need to read this book, and it's called Shaman in Stilettos." And I was like, well, if 2 people say the same thing to me, I do it.
Yeah.
That's my rule.
Yeah.
So I bought the book. I took the book with me, and every day, so we flew from Lima to Cusco. You've got to go, if you get a chance, Liz, go to Peru.
I would like to
go
go.
to Peru. It's stunning. And so we stayed in Cusco, and we did our acclimatizing in Cusco, and that was before the trek. So Cusco is higher than Machu Picchu, so you actually drop down to go to Machu Picchu. So people use Cusco as acclimatizing. So we did lots of, in and around Cusco, there's lots of archaeological sites and quite of them are quite high up as well. So just talking about Cusco as well, it's, as you fly into Cusco, it's like in a bowl. So wider at the sides. And when you're in Cusco, down every street, there's a huge mountain at the end of it. It is just knockout. It's amazing. So we did lots of treks in Cusco to get us used to the terrain, and particularly there was quite a few people had headaches, nosebleeds as well, but more, funnily enough, more with the guys. And then when we'd done these treks, on a night we'd go back to the hotel in Cusco and I would read my book. And every night I picked up my book, the shaman, she had done that same site as I had done, and it happened 5 times. It happened 5 times.
Amazing.
And I just knew that this was a really magical experience for me, and I didn't just kind of put a pin on the map and just go, oh yeah, Peru. There was something pulling me there.
Something drew you there, yeah.
When I stepped off the flight, I felt like I'd been plugged in. I think I said this in the last chat we had. I felt like I'd been plugged in. It's the most earthly heart energy I've ever felt in a country.
Wow.
Anywhere.
Wow.
Really, truly amazing. And I saw someone actually nearly faint when they got off the flight and stepped foot on the tarmac. Like, she came to me and I had to hold her.
Wow.
Her legs went, and it was so powerful. So yeah, so that was my first introduction to the word shaman. I didn't really know anything about it then, but her book was very interesting. It was her story. A lot of synchronicities between that book and my stepping foot into the country.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I had a similar experience with a book in India I'll tell you about sometime, which exactly the same, what I'd done the day it followed on that evening.
Amazing.
So when you did, first of all, tell me about Machu Picchu. So the first time you went on this trek.
Yeah. So we took a train from Cusco to Ollantaytambo. So we got a bus from Cusco to Ollantaytambo, and then we got a train from Ollantaytambo to Aguas Calientes, which is Machu Picchu town, really. It's called Aguas Calientes, means hot water. They've got hot water springs there. So we hopped on the train, and then we walked from Ollantaytambo. We did the trek from there. I've been there so many times, and I've done Machu Picchu 3 times, so every time I have to really connect back in with each journey. And we started to trek. We had these amazing guys who carried our stuff for us. I mean, they were running up the hill with, like, I don't know how many kilos on the back, 20 kilos on the back.
Unbelievable.
Crazy. Really lovely. And then every night we would stop, they'd set up tents and we'd camp overnight. I think it took us, we started on the Wednesday, and we got to Machu Picchu on the Saturday.
So it's quite a way then.
So it's quite a way, yeah, beautiful, stunning treks up the mountains, and, you know, seeing faces in the mountains and faces on the rocks and everything. Very, very, very spiritual. Hummingbirds, you know, gorgeous terrain. And our group was lovely, and a couple of people joined us as well on the trek. And so you literally you get to a high point where you're looking down the valley and down onto Machu Picchu, which is a little speck, and then it's all downhill from there. And we just walked around. At the time, I think that was a busy time, and then after that they knocked the numbers back. There was 4,000 a day going in at one point, and they knocked it back to 2,000, which is
still a lot of people.
It's still a lot of people.
How big is? I mean, I've seen lots of programs about it, but how big is the actual site? Would you say?
It's not huge. Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't be able to tell you in like meters or anything like that. I couldn't do that. But you can get round it in if you wanted to. If you wanted to go 2 hours, you know, easily.
Right, okay.
Easily.
Yeah.
But you kind of stop, and you want to look at the stonework, what the Incas actually did. I mean, it's unbelievable. They didn't have cement or anything, and all of the stones fit together perfectly.
Incredible.
Without even a gap. You know, it was stone to stone. Just amazing. There's vortexes there where you can stand and just feel the energy, and you can't stand still. You're kind of swaying. You can't stand there. You're just kind of swaying from side to side with the energy. There's a restaurant there. You can have lunch. There's 2 different higher treks there. When you get there, I did one of them. The other one looked very steep, and you're on the edge, walking up the edge. And I just thought, I'm not too bad with heights, but I just thought, no, it wasn't for me.
There's limits.
Yeah, and then you hop on the bus, and the bus takes you down into Aguas Calientes town from there. But it's a beautiful place, and like I say, really spiritual. And there's a tree there, and it just, every time I go, I have to go and spend time with that tree. It's just by itself in the middle, and it's all lawned. The grasses are all lawned and everything. It's really well manicured and it's very well cared for. And when you're actually on the site, you can see all different Inca trails, which actually the second shaman that I work with, he was the chief archaeologist at Machu Picchu at one point, and he discovered a couple of the Inca trails.
Wow.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. So from there, so you had that trek, you had the full experience of being in Peru, going to that amazing site.
Yeah.
And you reading the book while you were there.
Yeah.
What's her name? Anna
Hunt.
Anna Hunt.
Yeah.
So you'd done that, and then you come back to England, and then what? How did it?
And then, so I came back from England, and I thought, even to the point where when I was reading the book, flying home, as I was flying into Heathrow, she was flying into Heathrow in the book. It was just crazy. And I thought, I need to work with this woman.
Yeah.
She's going to be really important for me. And so she lives and works in London. And I booked on, I did a few workshops with her. I did a retreat with her in Seville as well, in Spain. But the workshops, so her visualizations were very powerful. She's very powerful. I had a huge Kundalini moment. It was just incredible. It just wouldn't stop. My body was just jerking really powerfully. And at one point in the visualization, and I can still see it now, a huge snake came to me.
Wow.
Nose to nose, and she was huge. She was grey, and in between her scales there was like a fiery orange colour.
Wow.
And she just was staring at me, nose to nose. It was just incredible. And yeah, she was very good with her visualizations, at being able to take you places, altered states easily with her. You know, she was incredibly powerful. So yeah, then I went to Seville and did a workshop with her in Seville, and we worked with plant medicines.
Okay, good. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So I know there's San Pedro, and there's ayahuasca.
Yeah.
So can you explain to us what San Pedro is, what ayahuasca is, and your experience with them?
Yeah, so my first experience with plant medicines was with San Pedro, or Wachuma, as its native name is.
Okay.
And it's basically a cactus. So they cut the cactus and they brew it, and they would chant over it in a similar way that they would with ayahuasca as well. And then so they make this brew, and it's really bitter. It's like a dark, almost like a charcoal, like a really dark brown, cloyy, liquidy, but very bitter.
Like cough syrupy type texture.
Yeah, exactly. It was like that. And so it would be performed in ceremony, so very controlled. And so she would offer us a meditation just to get us nice and relaxed, and then we would drink the medicine while sitting up. Sitting, and then we would lie down and just allow the medicine to work through us. And lots of different reactions to the medicine. Nobody was physically ill with it.
Okay.
It wasn't like ayahuasca. It's not a purging. It's not a purging medicine, but it is known to open the heart chakra.
Right. Okay.
That's what it does.
Okay.
And yeah, it's incredibly beautiful. You can get visions with it as well, but it's I can remember, because we did that ceremony in a it was a beautiful yoga shala, but it was all glass around it, so you could see outside. She was drumming and rattling while we were taking the medicines, well, to help the medicine to kind of integrate into the system. And then when we'd finished and we walked outside, and the sky was clear and vast, there's no lights there as well, you're in the middle of nowhere, and I looked up and I'd never seen the sky like it. And I know that it it was a beautiful vista anyway, but I know that the medicine was working through me, and I was seeing the sky as it should be seen. The Milky Way was really loud and proud, and it was fantastic. So the ceremony is about 5 hours long, something like that.
Okay.
And then you have some soup, because by that you haven't eaten, you've fasted all day, really. So you have some soup afterwards just to replenish, and then it's bed. And then the day after we would write about our experience and do some exercises with her, just to work through the experience.
So would you say taking the San Pedro is a fundamental part of the journey? Did it take you deeper than you think you would have gone with it being the heart opener? Did it take you deeper than you think it would have done just with one of her profound meditations? For you, was it like, wow, this is really life-changing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is very special. It is very special. It's not just like sat having a cup of coffee with friends or whatever and getting a little bit, It was very, it was instrumental. It was instrumental. And during that time in Seville, I remember I was lying down, and all of a sudden I got a huge it came from nowhere, and it was a huge pain, and it felt like it was in my left ovary. That's where it felt like it was. And so I called her over. She would leave us lying down until, if we needed her, we could call her. And I called her over and I said, I'm in agony. It's just come on. It's in my left ovary. And she said, right, okay. So she went to her altar where she was sitting, and she brought me back a meteorite. It's not crystal, really. It's a stone, isn't it? But, and she said, just put this on your skin and work it around the area like it's a vacuum cleaner. And it took it away immediately.
Whoa.
Immediately. And that was my start into crystals, actually.
Okay.
That was my
good introduction.
A very powerful and very positive introduction to crystals. And that was it. And then she'd cleanse the stones after we'd finished with them, and then they'd be ready to use next time. Yeah, very, very, very powerful. A very powerful medicine. Very beautiful, very gentle. Does not push you to edges what ayahuasca might. You feel safe with it, and you feel held and nurtured, and it feels like a mother energy.
Oh, that sounds
really kind, giving, loving, supportive.
Yeah, which is what you need, isn't it, for heart opening?
Definitely.
Now, I don't know if you've seen the Sue Perkins. I love Sue Perkins. Did you see the programme where she was in South America?
Yes.
But they gave her the powdered form of San Pedro. Now, I can remember reading, I think it might have been Shaman in Stilettos, I'm not sure, where they say they don't recommend the powder form, that it has to come from obviously the powder's from the plant, but it has to come from the fresh plant, because otherwise there's I can't remember what it was, whether it's a long time ago already, whether it's something, it makes it a bit more aggressive, or there's just something, it's not cooked. I remember reading one book, and as they cook it, so they have it like on a big stove, don't they?
Yes.
So is cook the right word? I don't know. Brew.
Yeah.
That's a better word. So as they brew it, then they could see images, knowing that, so like brewing yours, they would have seen the snake and maybe thought, oh right, somebody's going to have an experience with the snake. Or I can see an ovary here. Somebody's going to have an experience with something to do with an ovary, the brew tells the story before it's actually about to happen.
Yes.
Where I don't suppose you get that as much with the powder. I mean, Sue Perkins was with a proper shaman, but she was very ill, wasn't she? And it brought up very powerful, deep-rooted, strong. She seemed quite, as cathartic as it was, it seemed quite trauma. To me, watching, I was quite upset for her watching it.
Yes.
Thinking it was like she'd really been thrown on the motorway and just left.
Yes.
Type feeling. Where would it be fair to say that when the plant is brewed totally from its natural state, as in picking the plant, starting to brew it. It's a more gentler approach, a more gentler...
Yeah, I think there's a lot goes into that as well, Liz. I think that, no, I know that they put intentions into the brew as they're brewing it, so they can sing Icaros into the medicine. So when you're drinking the medicine, you get the energy of the Icaros coming through as well as the shaman sing. I don't know if singing's the right word to do it. Singing Icaros when you're in ceremony. So, and that helps to bring things up for you. Yeah, and also it's probably worth saying as well that I've always been told that you're better having the medicine from where it was grown and picked.
That makes sense.
So, ayahuasca from the vine, it's obviously comes from the vine, what grows up the tree. If you're going to take it in the jungle, then have it picked from the jungle in that area, rather than doing it from getting it shipped over. You're better off having it local.
That makes sense.
And taking it, because you're in that area as well. You're in that energy. You're in the energy where the vine was growing, and I imagine that makes it more powerful.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because they talk about the spirit of the plant. Well, the spirit of the plant is going to be a lot more powerful in its homeland, isn't it? In its area where it's actually grown.
Yeah.
So how many times have you done San Pedro?
I would like to give you an exact figure, but over 15 times, maybe 20 times.
So a lot then.
I've done it. I've used that medicine a lot.
So would you say it's like peeling the layers of the onion?
Yeah, and once you drink it as well, it's in your DNA.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in your DNA. Yeah. And if you get the chance to do it with a reputable
that's
shaman,
the thing. Yeah.
and do be careful as well. I would always have someone recommend somebody. And that I've heard lots of stories, particularly with ayahuasca. Not San Pedro. It's too gentle. San Pedro's too gentle, really, to have someone to have a bad experience, I think. But when it's ayahuasca, it can be a different story altogether. So you do need to make sure that you are in the right place with the right person.
Yeah, with a reputable source.
Exactly.
So on to ayahuasca. So you've taken ayahuasca as well?
Yes. I've taken ayahuasca 3 times.
Okay, so tell us about that.
2 different retreats with 2 different shaman. One of them was with Anna Hunt, and the other one was with a shaman who I mentioned not so long ago about. He was the chief archaeologist at Machu Picchu. Both very different. Actually, it was the same person who brewed on both times. Oh, so we stayed at the same place in on the Amazon. And they had a maloca there, and so a maloca's where it's like a ceremonial space where you take the medicine and then you stay there for the whole ceremony, and it's sometimes 7 hours for ayahuasca. So that was actually in the same place, which is really odd and quite a coincidence, I think. And for me, she didn't work for me.
Okay.
She didn't work for me. Out of the 3 ceremonies, I only purged in one of them. So I vomited twice. And I had a vision in that one as well. And the vision was really quite beautiful. The vision was of a jaguar, and a log had fallen between 2 riverbanks, and she was kind of prowling, so she was kind of stalking. I could see like her shoulders, and her head was like the same level as her body. She was just one long line, definitely female, and she didn't see me. I was watching her, but she didn't look at me, and she was just stalking over this tree trunk, and the colours were just amazing. The pattern on her, that's watching her muscles contract and move, and the forest itself was alive. And that's the only experience that I've had with ayahuasca. Now, she's known as the grandmother.
When you say she, you mean, just to clarify, you mean the ayahuasca?
Sorry, yes, the medicine, yes. So, she's a female. She's a female medicine known as the grandmother. And so I've taken it 3 times, and maybe not in the right circumstance, maybe not with the right people. I don't know. But will I give it another try? It's something that I've thought about quite a bit, and I don't think I'm ready yet. I think maybe there might be another time in my life when I feel like she's calling me.
Yeah.
I always dug my heels in because I don't like purging at all.
No.
I've got a real no. I don't think anybody does. I
understand
don't think anybody does. And I just thought, oh no, I don't really fancy that. It doesn't sound like me. And then all of a sudden, my mindset just completely changed, and I was like, I have to go to the Amazon and I have to do ayahuasca.
So you'll know. We always get called, don't we, when something's right?
Yes, yeah.
Then you'll know where to go.
Yeah.
Having experienced that and visiting South America several times, how does that come in? So obviously I know with the Gong sessions, with the sound sessions, so you do group ones, you do one-to-one. So I know you bring in the cacao with that, and I know you bring in ceremony with that. But how would you say that visiting South America, visiting the shaman, training with the shaman, how has that affected you, and how does that work through you? So does that work through you with other people? Just what have you brought back from it, I'm trying to ask.
Yeah. So I use my shamanic practices and teachings in healings. That can be, people contact me and they say that they tell me their issue, what they're dealing with, and would I be able to help? And 9 times out of 10, yes, I can. And I kind of weave my shamanic work, so drumming, rattling, extraction, which I'll talk about in a moment. So I kind of use lots of different principles in my shamanic healing work. And yeah, it is primarily drumming and rattling, I find. But yeah, so going back to the extraction work, I was on my way to a workshop in London, a shamanic workshop, and the guy who was running it, a younger guy who was running it, he got in touch with us. I was on the train. He sent a message just saying, if you can, before the retreat, before the workshop starts this weekend, would you watch this video on YouTube? And I was on the train, plugged my earphones in, had my laptop, and off I went. And it was basically a filming in the 60s of a female Pomo Indian shaman. And she was known as, her name was Essie Parish, and she was known as the sucking doctor.
Okay.
So she was the head of the tribe. It's in Northern America. Okay. She was the head of the tribe, and it showed you her, and it was actually, she was working on her husband. He was lying down. They were in a big tent with a fire in the tent, and she would chant over him, and she would suck the illness out of people. That's what she did.
Wow.
Known as a sucking doctor. So she would pull it out and spit it out into a bowl, basically. And when I was watching it, I had just exactly what you were saying earlier about when things happen, and things happen for a reason. I had a really deep connection with her, and I couldn't stop watching it. I watched it about 4 times back to back on that journey. I watched it in the hotel on the night. I watched it on the way home. She just magnetized me. I don't know what it was. She just magnetized me, and I felt like I'd known her previously. I later found out in a past life regression that she was my mother.
Whoa.
In a past life.
Wow.
So in this past life, I'm going off track here, but bear with me.
Go off track, go.
So in this past life, I was a child, and I was a very powerful child, to the point where the shaman, the elders in the village, were scared of me because I was so powerful. I had these magic powers, and I had gifts what they couldn't even anticipate or, I suppose, handle. So I was poisoned as a child.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Separately to that, completely different, during one of my healings with my teacher, that came through. That same thing came through. She had given me a message and said I was forced to drink the elixir of death. That's what they called it, the elixir of death.
Okay.
And so Essie was my mother in that life, and possibly more, but she was my mother in that life. And then Essie also came through to my teacher while she was working on me, and said the words were, "Get out of the way, she's mine."
Oh, wow.
So Essie's come to me in different ways, with different teachers. So one of them was my teacher here in Ripon, and the other one was a different teacher who I worked with less often. Mm-hmm. So two different people give me her story.
Amazing. Not that you need proof, but that's really nice.
It was really beautiful and then to see her on film.
Yeah.
To be able to connect with her in that way was fantastic.
That's incredible, yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel very blessed to have. She's got my back. She's very powerful.
Well, I imagine part of the being a guide, but the fact that she was physically your mother as well.
Absolutely.
Then she's going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the extraction.
Yeah.
So he'd said, watch this video. And then so you went to the workshop in London.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
So we had to pair up, and there was like two of us working at any, so like 4 people, 2 pairs working at any given time, and the rest would be watching who were on the workshop. Mm-hmm. And I felt a compelling need to pull out that way.
Yeah.
But I was too nervous.
Yeah, well, I suppose if
I was too
watching.
nervous, and I thought, am I just doing it because I've seen her do it? I don't want to do it because I've just seen her do it. I want to do it when it feels natural.
Yeah.
So, that and then afterwards I got over myself. I got home and I thought, you know what? You've seen that for a reason, and it's affected you for a reason.
Yeah.
And and so I did actually I started using that technique in my healings.
Okay.
And it was very powerful. It was very powerful. I can't explain it. You just know exactly where to go, and it's not necessarily the places where the people have said, oh, I've got this here, I've got that there. Mm-hmm. It can be somewhere really random, and you're spitting out, and then having to cleanse really deeply afterwards as well.
Yeah. So you as well as.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, the people experience in that after they initially, it must be quite shocking for them, thinking, what's she doing? But the release they must feel afterwards.
Yeah, completely. But I must admit, I did give them a little bit of an inkling, because I didn't want them to be drawn out, because I know what it's like when you're being healed, or when you're in a healing session. Mm-hmm. You can go to an altered state.
Yes.
Can't you? You can kind of move. And I think when you are working with someone on a healing capacity, you are the shaman. Mm-hmm. You are, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a mum and you've got a child who's got a headache, you're the shaman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aren't you?
Yeah.
In every instinct. So yeah, it was very powerful. Was very powerful for me. I still call on her now if I feel that I need her. Mm-hmm. I call on her just to be with me, just to be by my side and give me a little nudge if I need to. Like, you should be doing that now.
That's not, but that's lovely.
Yeah.
What really. A lovely, very special.
Yeah.
Would you say that the gong takes on the energy of her sometimes, and that drawing out, do you think that's where your power is?
Yeah, I feel that all of my guides join me, because it feels like there's so much inspiration around me. Mm-hmm. And so I know there's a lot of them. And during one of my sessions when I was gonging, and so as I'm gonging, I'm looking around and checking on people, making sure everybody's okay. And there was a girl there, a lady there, and afterwards she said to me, when you turned round, she said, your eyes were just black.
Wow.
They were just black holes. And it did surprise me a little bit, but I wasn't shocked, because I knew that it will have been one of the shaman working through me. And I think the fact that my eyes were black was telling that I was out.
Yes.
I'd gone.
Yeah.
I'd left
You'd
the
been
building.
you'd been taken over.
Yeah, I'd been taken over.
And the healing. I think that's an incredible gift.
Yeah.
For people, that you can do that you can step out of the way, allow spirit, whoever, to come in to work through you and really let the healing happen.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a huge trust what goes on there. And I think from both sides, you know, because they are bridging the veil, as am I. And I think that there needs to be a lot of trust. And I you know, I'm willing to open up, and I trust that my team around me are keeping me safe.
Yeah.
So that when I do open, then I am a void for spirit, and there's no tricksters can kind of get in, and that's happened to me before. When I first started out, not on the shamanic path, but when I was developing spiritually, I'd get lots of tricksters coming through, because they see you as an easy portal, and they would do silly things like they'd ask me for money and things like that, and I was just like, and then I just shut it down then, and then I realised that I had to do the work before.
Yeah. When people say to me, you know, I want to be a medium, I want to be this, work on yourself.
Yeah.
But I want to help other people, work on yourself, because it is all about learning your energy, creating boundaries. I get sick of saying that word, and people get sick of me saying that word, but it's so important, isn't it? Having those boundaries in all ways, but energetically having those boundaries.
Definitely.
And then the more you raise your vibration, the more like attracts like.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? And I think you're right with the key word being trust. Because it is hard to just let go and trust.
Yeah.
We're in this world, we're designed to be in control. We know, we've been isolated. We're individuals, and we're encouraged to be individuals.
Yes.
And so to fully let go and trust, I think it's quite a hard thing in this day and age for people.
Yeah, it is. It actually makes me think of a time when I was doing trance work. So I was in a trance state, and I felt like my chin was really extending outwards. And I spoke to my teacher after. I said, because she was watching us all in trance, and I said, I felt like my chin was like huge, like Bruce Forsyth kind of style. And she said you had a huge ring through your bottom lip.
Oh, wow.
And so this was another of my guides, and I think he comes and goes, this one, but he's definitely shamanic, and he does everything kind of in a crouch, like goddess posture in yoga, and he would walk around like that. And I've found when I'm doing my healing, as I'm moving around, because the client is very often on the floor, I don't have a couch, so I get lots of cushioning on the floor, and I crawl around on my feet, but in goddess posture, and I'm sure that's him, and I'm sure that he's from the Amazon as well. I feel a strong connection there with the Amazon. But like I say, he comes and goes, and I feel that that's gonna come more, if that makes sense. I feel like he's just been introducing himself, and it's nothing.
Testing the waters.
Yeah, and nothing for me, and I don't know whether it's the same for you, Liz. Even in my shamanism, in the mediumship work, and I'm not a medium, but that connection to spirit, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's took a long time. It doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and it's good to hear you say that as well. Like, but it's a continued trust and love. The love vibration is really important.
It is. Love and gratitude.
Yeah.
All the way.
Yeah.
Gratitude creates the love, doesn't it? But definitely. Here's one for you then.
Okay.
How do shamanism and spiritualism go together, maybe in the world or in your life? Are they one and the same? How would you?
I would say that the shamanism has a more tangible and physical feeling to it. I use my crystals
Mm-hmm.
in a shamanic way.
Mm-hmm.
How I was taught by Anna,
Mm-hmm.
always on the skin,
Mm-hmm.
and using it like a Hoover, like a vacuum cleaner. That's how I use them now.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me, because I learned that in a shamanic context,
Mm-hmm.
my spiritualism is definitely my grounding. It's my anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Everything what I do on top of that is separate, connected through the anchor, but maybe more, how can I say it, more going off. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it.
I know what you mean. How would we?
I suppose connecting to spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and working with them in that way. I think it's a completely separate thing to shamanism to me. I find them very different energies.
They are different energies. I would say I do cacao every morning, and I open sacred space every morning. And then I sit, and then I ask whoever wants to come through, or I'll just sit quiet. Sometimes I'll be drawn to write, sometimes it'll be channeling, sometimes it'll be my purging. So for me, they go together, and one, since I would say last summer, so I connected with cacao I've had cacao with you in the ceremonies, and I connected with it on my own at home, and then I did the podcast with Beccy, and then I started using it just with the water, no sweetener, hardcore. And that's different. That's really for me, that's really different. And that has connected me back to the shamanic side, but it's also, I don't know, I find it hard to explain. It's also grounded me and opened me up at the same time. So I feel that, to me, the shamanic side pulls down, anchors. It's that real earthly feeling, and then spirit is there.
True. I can totally understand that. And Beccy's cacao is amazing.
It is.
It's real altered state stuff.
It is.
So I can definitely see where you're coming from, 100%. But one is very physical, and the other one is meditation. Like you say, writing. I do inspirational writing and connect to my guides that way. But they're both, I suppose they're both my anchor, actually.
The more we talk about it, you can see, can't they, that they are different, but they are connected.
Yes, definitely.
There's that link there, isn't there?
Definitely, yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's nice to have other people's perspective of it when you know somebody's coming from the same place of how it affects them. So on a day-to-day basis, what would you say your practice is for you personally?
Walking in nature is big for me. I love to be amongst trees.
Me too.
I've got a favourite tree. In fact, I'm going to show you.
I was going to ask you about to show that afterwards.
I'm going to show you.
So for those on the podcast, you won't be able to see this, obviously, but Jules has got this gorgeous little pouch with a crystal on it and little tassels. So do you want to explain? I'll put a picture of it on the Instagram page, but what is that? Where's it from?
So I bought this from Aguas Calientes in a beautiful crystal shop, and I bought it to use in ceremony, actually. So it's a little pouch, and inside it, I'll show you what I've got inside it. So the contents change, well, apart from a couple they do. So I have some seeds from my tree here, so that keeps me grounded. And connected to nature, so green. I always feel connected to nature with these. I've got a meteorite stone here. Do you want to? They're really quite heavy.
Oh, yeah.
They're really quite heavy. So as I was saying earlier, it's not the same stone what pulled out that energy from my abdomen, but it works in the same way. I would use that in the same way. So I always keep that, because meteorites come from, well, all crystals come from the stars, but when you think they're pulled to earth, aren't they, so powerfully, that it's a really powerful grounding tool. And then I would, if I was doing a healing, I would have crystals what would be resonating with what the client was telling me about, where there is blockage or whatever. So I've got citrine here and a carnelian, so it was obviously lower chakra work there. And I would just pop this around my neck. Like I say, it changes every time as to what I need to pop in there. And I have to just be careful. Sometimes I can go swinging around and it ends up whacking me and things like that. But yeah, my trusty little pouch.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah,
I love that, how you bring it all together.
Yeah.
And so you've got all aspects of life in that little pouch, of your life in that little pouch. But I think, and I know people will disagree with this, but for me, our personal journey is our medicine. So if that involves shamanism, if that involves spiritualism, if that involves, can't think of anything else, whatever that involves, it is that person's journey, so it is right for them.
Yeah.
So there's many things, aren't there, that can come together. People, I think, become a bit frightened of by what they've been told, or it can be a bit dogmatic that no, if you're on this path, this is the path that you must follow, and you become blinkered. But once you become blinkered, you're not open to what's going on around you. You're not open to life around you. I believe, and you will miss out the breadcrumbs along the way.
And it's also worth remembering, I think, that if something doesn't come onto your path, it's not for you.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And you might be thinking that you really want or you need something, but this lifetime that might not be in your remit this lifetime. Maybe it's for another. And it's accepting that as well.
Yes.
And it's also accepting, if your journey's hard, then you're meant to be on that journey, which is hard. To bring you to elevate you, to grow you, to spread your roots a bit further, maybe.
It's all lessons, isn't it? And it's very hard to say to somebody who's going through a difficult time that, oh, this is a spiritual lesson, and you never want to be trite with that. But I truly believe it is, and I truly believe we grow through. We are the sum of our experiences, aren't we?
True, very true.
Here we are, fabulous women in our 50s, and we are that experience of 5 decades. Of what's happened to us throughout our lives is what shaped us, like the pebbles in the stream, the way the water's gone across them, the roots of the tree. That's what shapes us. That's who we are.
Yeah, I think of a similar thing. I think of a tree being cut, and the rings, and that's every life experience.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is nice. I do like that.
But it's so true. It's so true. Everything. And quite often it's the difficult times that bring the most gifts. Yeah.
Always the dark night of the soul, isn't it, as it's called, as well as other things. That I truly believe that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Jules, thank you so much. It's so lovely having you in the flesh. But thank you so much for joining me. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I really have. Thank you for joining us, and I'll be back again soon with more fabulous guests. Take care. Bye.